people joining. So, for all my followers and viewers today, thank you so much for joining me today on your Saturday afternoon. I'm your host, Asia McCray, the host and founder of Athlete's Diary and this Open Diary series. My special guest today is Cam Spence. Cam, why don't you give our viewers a little introduction to who you are, what you do, and how you got into
Well,
what you're doing
first, I
now?
want to thank Asia for having me on today. This is definitely a surreal feeling considering the fact that we went to high school together and now we're up and coming, doing big things and pushing society forward. So I just want to thank you for having me on again. But my name is Cam Spence. For those who don't know, I'm the current assistant defensive line coach at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. I'm also the founder of my training company, Bear Spence Academy. That is a college, NFL, and high school skills training company. And I just got to Chapel Hill probably about 2 months ago now. I was the former assistant defensive line coach at The Ohio State University last season. So I'm here. So ready to kind of start this journey. I've been here this spring ball. It went very well. Looking good this season. So I'm excited what God has in store for me next.
That is great. That is so great. Thank you for the introduction.
All right.
Let's get rapping. I'm intrigued. Let's get to it. So I want to start on your student athlete journey. Tell me about that. What was that like for you? I want you to cover pretty much whatever you feel the need to. If you've gone through injuries, mental health issues, talk about just day to day life. Like, what was it like
Yeah,
being a student
well, so
athlete?
first I signed with the University of Maryland in 2017, signing coming out of high school. Uh, I had already came in actually pre-injured. I had a little cartilage, small cartilage tear, and I didn't think of anything of it at the time. But as I continued on to go through summer workouts and uh, getting ready for training camp in August, I soon realized that I needed to have double knee surgery. So I messed up both my cartilages in my knees. For a student athlete, that's injuries are, I want to say they're almost like the untalked about thing, of what goes on behind the scenes. Like everybody just sees, oh, he got hurt, but they don't really understand like the mental, like you were just saying, the mental aspect of it. And really, it didn't deteriorate me. I actually have been blessed to have good perspectives on life and just looking at it from that viewpoint. So when I got hurt, I just took that time to just kind of settle down, enjoy my family, enjoy being a college student, as well as trying to keep my eye on the prize, so to say, of trying to get back and starting that road, which is a 2-year road for me of recovery from my surgeries. So pretty much I had an osteochondral defect where the cartilage is pretty big, significant piece of cartilage is torn out of your knee. And I had that done on both of my knees. So I will say it was kind of rough. It was kind of rough at first. I didn't go through any depression or anything like that. I just really thank God. He was my biggest supporter in that, along with my mom and my dad. But I really wouldn't have been able to get through it if I wasn't, so strong in my faith. And that's kind of what has laid that
Yeah.
groundwork and foundation for me throughout my life to where I am currently. But I will say I did go
Okay.
see a therapist, and that really helped me out a lot just to get some different perspectives and just to outsource what I'm thinking to somebody else that may not have been a familiar face to me, which kind of made me feel a little bit more comfortable to open up. And I definitely suggest therapy to whoever is out there that may be going through something. It's nothing wrong with going to therapy at all. It's good to take care of your mental health, especially in today's day and age. But aside from the injury aspect, just getting into the student athlete part of it, just being a student athlete is a grind. It's a grind. You definitely have to be disciplined. You have to be focused, dedicated. I
Yeah.
mean, you waking up some days at 5 o'clock in the morning to do stadium runs, and then you got a 8 o'clock class that you got to get to. So it's a grind. It's not for the weak. It's really not. It seems like everybody can just go to college and just be a college athlete. Like that's tough. Like Like, I know coaches be talking about, is he tough or is she tough? Are they this? Are they that? Going to college, being a college athlete in general is tough. Like, that's toughness. You know what I mean? Because you have to be able to go through those things on a day-to-day basis, every day, you know, and it's what have you done for me lately, you know, and you got to be on that pressure performance every time you step on the court, every time you step on the field. So yeah, that's just kind of my viewpoint of a student athlete, just having to be disciplined and dedicated day in and day out. Yeah.
Listen, that was great. And I want to touch on like three things that you kind of just mentioned. I want to go back to your injury, because for those who are on the live, if you know me personally, I was also injured in college. So I definitely get the struggle of being an injured student athlete. And I want to ask you, like, you said you found out you had two knee injuries at the same time. That's kind of not unheard of, but that's rare, especially, you know, in football players, any athlete. I think one injury is just enough for one person. Like, to hear about like, oh, I have to handle two at the same time. What's that look like for you in your head? Like, when you heard that, just tell me, like, what was your first thoughts? Like, did you think like, oh, I'm going to get past this, or, you know, should I hang it up? Like what was your
Yeah, that's
mindset
a
in
great
that
question.
moment when you heard that
So pretty
news?
much when Dr. Bennett, he first told me, he said, you know, you're going to have two knee surgeries. He said, now these are 50% chance you'll play, 50% chance you may not play again. So my first thought was, I had never had surgery before. So I was like, oh, I was kind of scared. I was talking to my mom, my dad. I was like, oh, my dad, because my dad had two hips replaced. So I was asking him, like, Dad, like, what is it like to be under anesthesia?
How'd you
You
do
know, I
it?
was panicking for her. I was like, how were you like asleep? Could you hear stuff? You know, what was going on? So I was kind of a little nervous and scared at first. But kind of once I got over that, the surgery part of things after that had passed, I really kind of just kept my eyes forward and just put one step in front of the other. So I focused on putting all the time and attention into getting back to playing first. So that way I didn't become overwhelmed. Because I think when we have too many things on our mind, sometimes we start spinning and we kind of lose track of things, and you become overwhelmed. So you got to take it one step at a time. And that's with anything in life. But just going back to that, yeah, I just decided to put one step at a time, put all my chips into getting back on the road to recovery. I knew it'd be a long road, but I was just going to fight. I was going to grind as hard as I could to get back. And when I look up, if the end result was there for me, it was there. If it wasn't, praise God still, because I know at the end of the day, he was still in my corner every step of the way. So that's kind of speaking on what you were just saying with that, with my injuries. Yeah.
I'm kind of happy you said this. People may think it's cliche, but I tore my ACL my sophomore year going into conference for basketball, and it was rough. Like, that's why I asked the question, like, when you heard that news, like, how was it for you? Because I think anyone who gets injured, and especially for you saying you didn't have surgery ever. I had no surgery. If you remember in high school, I broke my nose here and had surgery. But I think things like knees, backs, hips, ankles are like those injuries that are super scary. And for me, I was like, an ACL injury is common in women's sports. It's common in basketball, football, soccer, lacrosse. So I just knew it wasn't good. And I did have mental health issues. I was depressed my sophomore year because, you know, like having to come into school and do the game that we love, the sport we love, and have it taken away is just, it's a lot, and it can be a lot on someone. And you mentioned having or taking it one step at a time. And I have that tattooed on my leg, on my ACL leg. Like, and I really stand by that in life, in sport, in work, whatever it is. I think being hurt kind of opens doors in terms of kind of like testing your mental toughness. Like, we do it in sport, we do it in life sometimes, but I think sports really gives us opportunity to test ourselves. And in that moment, I just thought, I'm going to attack this rehab one step at a time. I'm going to attack my get back one step at a time. And I got tattooed because I was like, no, that's how I felt. Like, this is the reason why I look at life like this way now. And I was so happy to hear you say
Yeah.
that, because it's really real. Like, you can't go through life thinking that things are going to just get back to normal. I'm going to play again in 2 weeks, or I'm going to come back early. Like, you got to really settle yourself, take it one step at a time, and believe in God, believe in your trainers, your coach, and your family that, you know, you're going to get back to where you need to be, but in due time. God does not rush anything. And if you rush yourself, you're going to come back feeling maybe worse than you did when you left. So to your point,
Oh
I
yeah, I
don't know
can
if you
hear
can
it's
hear the
busy,
fire trucks
busy
outside.
out there in the NYC. Big Apple.
Listen, New York is
Yeah.
literally the city that never sleeps. I am not joking. Like, it can be any time at night. Like right now, it's 12:16 here, but they are on go. And I appreciate it because they, of course, are
Oh yeah.
out saving people and doing their job. But we're going to just let them have the time. Just go ahead.
Get it in. Just get it in.
Get to your destination. That's New York for you, folks. But yeah, so I want to kind of jump from that to talk about what your rehab process was like. Where were you thinking in terms of next steps? Because I feel like when we get hurt and we're, you know, thinking of like long term, it's always a question of, is this best for me? Should I push it to get back? How will this affect my future? So like, where was your mindset in terms of getting out of course, being injured and back into being healthy, a healthy athlete again, but also kind of thinking about your future, like job, career? Where were you thinking after hearing that, okay, I need 2 knee surgeries, I may not play again, I might play again? Like, what was your final
So
decision like
pretty
for
much
you?
my whole plan and philosophy for getting back was first to go get right, and then on top of that, after I got back right, to get back, you know, good enough to play, go to the league. But if that didn't work out, I will say I credit this a lot to my parents, because just being an only child and being raised by people a lot older, I think a lot of that maturity rubbed off on me very early. And I've always been a forward thinker. Like, I'm always trying to plan for the future and put things in place ahead of time, just in case something doesn't work out. So that being said, before, and this would be off track just a little bit, but when I signed my letter of intent to Maryland, and the fine print it said, if you were to get hurt and never to play again, then we'd honor your scholarship until you achieve your degree. And so that intrigued me to go to Maryland, because I already knew on the front end, I was like, yeah, I know I'm a little banged up right now, so let's just go ahead with this, because I think this is a good security plan for me in the future. And then after I got hurt and I rehabbed and things of that nature, I realized I took, like I said, I took a pause and realized within myself I had to look within, because sometimes when, you know, things are going, the bullets are flying in life, sometimes we just gotta stop in the midst of the storm, trust God, and like start looking within ourselves to what we can do next. And that's what I did. And I realized, like, okay, I have good knowledge of the game of football. A lot of people love surrounding themselves around me. You know, I'm almost like a player coach in a sense. Why don't I just start helping my own teammates be the best versions of themselves on and off the field? So I was like, wow, you know what? I wanted to be a sports broadcaster, but now I kind of want to start training. So that's how I got into the whole training aspect, because it's like, I got the football IQ knowledge. I know how to talk to people. I got the networking skills from my dad. You know what I mean? I got the empathetic, sympathetic side from my mom. So it's like, let's put this all together, and this is who I am. This is what I'm gonna bring to the world. And so that's what I did, and I started training, and you know, I was able to see good results and fast. I mean, I started out on Maryland's little multi-purpose field. I used to call it the sand pit. It's hot as a mug out there some days. But
I bet
it was so hot that I had like 30 people out there one day, and I was doing it all for free. And I just like took a stop and was like, I really love what I'm doing right now. You know, like, to be out here in 90-degree heat with 30 people and nobody is paying me. You know what I mean? Like, that's different. You gotta love what you're doing to do that. So, and I just kept on pushing with it, and next thing you know, it was Javon Kinlaw. Next thing you know, I was going to Charlotte, training my boy Jermaine and Derek Brown from the Carolina Panthers, and next thing you know, ESPN Sports Center was featuring me with the Knife Combat Drill with Javon Kinlaw and Bleacher Report, and it's just like I'm looking back on it, I'm like, wow. This is nothing but God, but also just me being a good servant of him and listening and staying calm in the midst of all the storm, no matter what's going on. I'm just remaining calm, and I'm going to just keep trusting in myself because I know who my higher power is too. And I was able to bounce back from that, and then now I am to where I am now. So just kind of like to finish up with that question is just that's what I did. I took a look within myself. I realized what I am, what I mean in this world, and what I can do to make this society progress forward. And I realized that that's in coaching. I mean, I feel like I'm a coach, like even off the field, just talking with people day in and day out. I'm always trying to help people, providing them with solutions and to their problems, or just, looking within and, meeting people where they are. I think I do a really good job of doing that. So that's when I just fell into this coaching role. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I want to ask, like, isn't it amazing when you feel like you take a chance or a leap on something and it kind of works out kind of how you expected it to, maybe not as perfect, but it works out. And I think the most amazing part of that story is what you said about helping people and realizing that, or maybe I won't be able to continue and do what I have planned out in my head, but I could also give back and help people who are just like me be the best they can, be what they want to be in the future, and help them get to that point. I think it kind of goes back to being a player. Like, if you're in a game, and let's go to
I
basketball.
started out
I'm a
hooping, so
basketball fan.
I'm right there with you.
Right. Basketball is love. First love right there. So I think, let's say you're in a game and you're not scoring, you're not really hitting your shots, but you're doing something else, like you're hustling, you're getting steals and blocks. Therefore, you're still helping your team get to the end goal, is to get the W. But you didn't do it in the path that you set out to do it, which was to score 20 points or to make a couple of threes. You did it in a different path, and it's still having the same result. And that's what you did. You took your time to sit back after knowing what you had going on and say, how can I still make this work without breaking down, without giving up? And you kept moving forward in your path. And like you said, God makes no mistakes. I think as athletes, we question, and even people in life, when it comes to deaths, losing a loved one, or car accidents, whatever happens to you in the world, I think we question him and think, why? Especially athletes who we just love this game and want to play forever and ever, and we can't all the time. Not all of us are going to make it to the pros, and even in life, not everyone's going to go D1. But you have to think about the circumstance and think about where you are in life and think, God makes no mistakes. He's going to put me where I need to be. And you may not know it now. You may not know the reason, but trust, it will come out. Because I felt the same way when I got hurt. I was like, why? Like, why me? I don't bother nobody. I don't do anything. Like, why me, But I love to hear that, injury kind of takes a turn from a negative thing and we turn it into a positive thing.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I like the example that you use with, the different attributes on the court and stuff, because we always say here, it's like, you don't have to make every tackle, but you got to make every play. And what we mean by that is, as long as you're trying to push to be the best player that you can be, and you're doing your assignment, you're doing your job, you're helping your teammates out. Now I'm going to take that out and take it to life. You don't got to be the superstar. You don't got to be the person with 1,000 followers. You don't got to be the millionaire, but you just got to wake up and decide to be the best version of yourself possible that you can be each and every day, because that's what matters. Because how I measure success is me being able to take what God gave me and then help other people with that same blessing, and see how many people I can touch with that blessing. That's how I measure success for me. I don't care. I could be poor, but I'm touching 1,000 people, and that matters more to me than the money. So
Right.
I just had to say that real quick.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's all facts. Just being all facts right now. And to that point, I kind of want to go back to touching other people without having to reach your personal goal. I wonder, like, I signed my letter of intent in high school, and I'm not gonna cap on here. I probably did not read half of those pages. However, I love the fact that you said when you committed to Maryland when you were in high school that they were going to honor your scholarship even if you got hurt. How special was that to you to think about? Because I want to say for anybody who's out here watching, if you're a student athlete or you know student athletes, you know how hard it is to one, just get looks, just to get recognized, and how harder it is to get an offer, and then to stay healthy and stay in that zone where you feel like you're kind of untouchable in terms of, oh, I made it, I have the scholarly, I'm good for 4 years. That's not always the case. I think that goes more in depth about what it's like to be a student athlete. Your scholarly can be ripped from getting hurt. I know people who lost scholarships early on in high school because they got hurt during the AAU season last summer and then the school backed out. So to hear that Maryland did extend your scholarship after you got hurt is amazing, because I feel like not many schools that I know of do that. So how was that for you reading that one sentence? Like, you kind of touched on it, but like, think about full circle, like how many schools may offer that, and to think about how blessed you were to have the opportunity and to look where it took you, years later.
Looking back on it now, especially from a business-like mindset, I look at it as a great investment as far as a business perspective. A good business plan. You're always going to make sure in your business plan that you have backup things just in case things go wrong, because in life there's no guarantees, right? Could be another natural disaster, could be another pandemic. So you got to figure out when those problems occur, what are you going to do? And so that's kind of what I looked at it from when I looked at that contract when I was signing my NLI with Maryland. I was like, okay, when problems occur, they have this in the contract that I'll be good. I can still get my degree. I'll still get school paid for. I'll still be on full scholarship. And so I was like, that's a no-brainer for me, along with me being from the area and things of that nature. But that really was a big part of me going to Maryland, was seeing that they was going to still take care of me, as if I was the star player, you know what I mean, regardless of my injury. And that really stood out to me and my family.
No, I that is great. Like, I've never heard that. And I'm sure, like I said, I probably might know a girl who got hurt and was able to stay or maybe do on staff GA position. But that's great, and I love that for you. I love that you were able to see that and be more, I guess I should say, feeling a little bit at ease going into school, knowing that I'm gonna be good regardless. Like, like I think people going to school, it's 1,001 questions. Like, will I stay here? Will I transfer? Will I get hurt? Like, will I graduate? And to know that you had a safety net is amazing. So I kind of want to touch a little bit about when you realized you weren't going to play anymore. You went to a Big Ten school. How was, like, social life? Like, did you ever feel like, even though you weren't playing physically, that you got some free time away from the hustle and bustle of being a student athlete? Or was it kind of similar in terms of, well, you may not be playing, but you still here at the 6 a.m. film session or the two-a-days or the lift, like the meetings? Like, how was it? Because I always wonder when people, or I always know that people who don't know how student athletes' lives are wonder, like, or I'm going to rephrase that. I know student athletes wonder, what if I didn't play a sport? How would my college life be? So how was it for you once you realized that I'm not going to play anymore, but I might have some free time here. I might be able to go home on more holidays.
Yeah, it was, at first it was like, okay, my whole life, all it was God, family, and sports, like in that order. So from that aspect of me stopping, realizing that I was gonna hang it up, I was like, okay, I got to figure out what am I gonna do with myself. Like I got all this free time, and I definitely, shout out to Coach Locks. He came in as the coach at Maryland the year that I retired, because I came in under Durkin, and then with everything that happened, Coach Locks came in, and he definitely allowed me some, grace and time to just figure it out. Like, it's okay. Take your time. If you want to be here, we want you here. If not, then we understand. We still going to help and support you. So I definitely respect him for that. And so that's kind of what I did. I was assisting with Maryland, just doing signal calling and stuff for the defense. But I didn't have to be there the whole day. I could still be a student. I could still get my work done. And actually, I see my grades improve too a lot. Just having that time to be able to focus on school a little bit more, And I was also able to go home sometimes, like you said. So it felt different. It felt like you weren't an athlete anymore. You felt like you were actually living life. Not saying that you can't live life as an athlete, but you're just living a little different life now. Where it's more, I say now it's more self-motivation than it is a structured schedule. So it will make you grow. It definitely made me grow, I would say, having to do that, because I had to put myself on a set schedule. Like, still need to work out. I still need to get my homework done. I still need to go to study hall, regardless of, I don't have anybody telling me to do it no more, but I need to do this on my own now. So it helped me grow up too, and be more mature. And I think I handled it very well. I got a lot of my work done. I got my priorities in line. And then that's when I started training as well, in the off season. So it really helps me kind of fill out my purpose. And I enjoyed every minute of it, honestly.
I'm so glad you answered that question that way. You kind of got me flowing into my next questions. So two things. My first thing, because we're relating on this injury life story right now, I know for me personally, when I got hurt, I too started taking my schoolwork 10 times more seriously. I looked at life completely different, because I really thought, okay, ball's not going to be here forever. And when I got hurt, I was halfway through my collegiate career. So for me, it was kind of like, oh, you're a sophomore now, but next year you'll be a junior. What's your plan for next year? What's your plans for when you graduate? And I started to do a 360 in terms of looking at life like, all right, I'm a hooper right now, but I might want to get into this. I should start taking this class more seriously because it can help me for next year, Well, my question is, what did you study in college? And when do you feel like, or do you feel like getting hurt and having that free time to, like you said, put more energy into other things helped you prepare for the real world? Because like you said, you're not on a structured schedule. It's more so whenever Cam wants to do it, Cam's going to do it. So
so I studied mass communications in college. That's where I got my degree in. And it helped me. It showed me the real world, in the real world, nobody is going to feel sorry for you. One, nobody is going to be there to hold your hand and, take out the trash, do this, do that. You're not a kid no more. You got to grow up. It's a big boy. And so now, as I was progressing in that growth stage, I was then seeing results of, okay, I'm grinding and I'm seeing some results, or I'm slacking and I'm seeing the consequences of it. So, like I said, it helped me grow. It helped me mature a lot faster, because I was in real time. I was able to assess my own life and how it could go based off of how much time, dedication I put into everything that I'm doing. And it helped me learn that the harder I work, the more dedicated I am, the more focused I am and disciplined, the better my life will be. So that made me continue to go the dedicated route than the lazy route. So,
that's good to hear. I think it's super important, because I feel like it's hard for athletes sometimes coming out of school and thinking like,
Mm-hmm.
what am I going to do with myself? Like, if you're not planning to go overseas or to the pros, then you do really need to, structure this like life plan. Not a life plan, but a plan for what's
Yeah,
next because it comes fast. Like how fast did college fly by
like
for
that.
you? Like,
Like it's crazy. And to that point about like just what to do with athletes, anybody out there who may be going through an injury, considering medically retiring or whatever, I would definitely suggest that you take some time, to yourself before you just try to jump into something. Just don't, I would, and this is just with anything in life, like don't just jump into things just to stay busy, just to be busy, so that way, you can't be sitting there with your own thoughts. Like actually take a pause out of life, go seek counseling, go seek therapy, you know what I mean? Take care of your mental health first. Then, because first of all, everything is a foundation, right? So I look at mental health as I'm planting a seed. I got to plant a seed on a strong foundation so that this tree can withstand for years and years and years to come. It's no good if I planted something and it just falls down after a week, and then in the society that we are in today, I think we lose sight sometimes of building our foundation strong, opposed to we always looking at the end. It's good to have the end in mind, but you shouldn't be always looking that direction, because I'll use an example. If I'm driving in the car and I look over at the end in mind, what's in front of me, I'm gonna end up crashing. You see what I mean? So I got to continue to build that foundation um, every day through life. And it starts with my mental health. And your mental health is your foundation, because if you're not at your best mentally, you're never going to be at your best. You know what I mean? So that I would definitely suggest that people just take it easy. Um, figure out what they want to do. Just look within yourself first. Don't even, like, if you play basketball, just don't think, oh, I want to be a basketball coach, or I just want to do something around sports. No, like really look at yourself, assess your life, assess what you do in your life, assess what people have told you. Like if people told you you're very observant, then add that in your toolbox. Like those are your tools. Those are things that you're good at. You know what I mean? You could be an observationist, or something or whatever. I'm just making stuff up, but you get the point. You know what I mean? Yeah, just
no, no,
just
yeah,
just
I feel
look at
you.
within
I feel you.
yourself first, and figure out what you're good at, figure out your strengths and weaknesses, and build on your weaknesses and
Mhm.
continue to enhance your strengths, and just go from there.
So,
Hmm.
to your point about mental health, um, I want to touch on
Hmm.
men. I'm not even going to say
Hmm.
black men. I'm going to say men in general. What advice would you give to men who, you guys are brought up in a world where you're taught to be strong and
Hmm.
tough it out and figure it out and just, log in? What advice would you give to men in terms of taking mental health
Uh,
more seriously?
the first thing I will say with that, and this may not apply to everybody because everybody may not be religious or have a higher power. I always start with the foundation of my spirituality first, and seeking help through God and through His Word first. From there, that it's okay to seek, um, counseling. It's okay to seek therapy. It's okay to ask for help. And I definitely suggest that men surround themselves around other good men, older men, especially like OGs. Today's day and age, we really don't talk to our elders like we should be doing, because they've been there before. We can't be getting ahead of ourselves, at times, like just because we may be successful at something a little bit faster than they were, they still have a certain level of knowledge that is valuable to us and that we need to go seek out and ask for. And I always suggest this to young brothers, that they go, surround themselves around older OGs, because that's what I do. Like my pops is like my superhero. And I definitely always go to him, my grandfather and stuff. So definitely surround yourself around those older gentlemen in your life, because men know how to deal with men's issues. You know what I mean? And so we got to surround ourselves, the brotherhood. You got to keep the brotherhood strong and surround yourselves around those OGs in your life.
I love that because I think hearing you talk about mental health and how you saw a therapist really speaks volume because, like I said, if you're in the sport and even
Hmm.
in life, you're not playing sports, whatever, men are always put on this pedestal to like push
Yeah,
through and not seem weak. But I don't think it's weak to seek out help, to seek out people who can hear your side of the story, maybe give you advice to change or to do better. Like I think I don't
yeah,
know. I'm a talker, so I don't mind
yeah.
talking about my feelings. And of course, I'm a woman, but that's why I wanted you to touch on, hey, my brothers
Hmm.
out there watching and listening to this. If you
Yeah,
need it, talk to somebody. Seek out your OG because it's important. I think it's
yeah, yeah.
literally can be life
Most definitely
saving.
it is. It's good to
Yeah,
outlet, outsource and stuff. And like I said, get
yeah,
around OGs, because everybody has a dad, or some type of father figure in their life. I hope, but just in general, when we look at the father figure, what comes to mind? Organization. You know what I mean? Somebody that's like assertive, that's gonna give you the hard truths that you really don't want to hear, but you need to hear. You think about all those things when you
right.
think of like a good example of a male role model. And, that's what men need. We need to have that example in our lives to progress as men and to grow. Yeah.
Yeah. So my next couple questions were on this subject of being an OG, seeking out OGs,
Hmm.
being someone that people can look up to. For you now in this role of, coaching
Hmm.
younger players now because you're out of school, so you're going to be looked at as, oh, he's kind of young but old in a way because he's been in
Hmm.
this grind for a couple of years now. He's been through it, and now he's literally coaching other people to do it. So, what's your day to day like? Like, what's your, I guess, give me your point of view of being a coach
Hmm.
in the ACC conference, going from Ohio State to UNC. Like, what's it like for you? And being someone who, like you said, has
Hmm.
the IQ for the game, what do you feel like your players or people will say about you as a coach? And like, what's
Yeah.
coaching like for you?
Well,
Like, what does it
starting
mean
with
to
what
you?
coaching means to me, and I always tell people this, the reason why I decided to college coach is because to me, I feel like I'm the last line of defense before you get out into the real world or before you go to the draft. Um, and I take that seriously because I've had people in my life that were highly successful, or known people in my life that were highly successful, and I've watched the downfall. I've seen the bad side of allowing certain people into your life and things of that nature, and it just
Yeah,
deteriorates you. And so I don't want that to happen anymore. So that's kind of why I decided to college
yeah,
coach, and I'm the last line of defense, and I want to make sure that I uplift and build these young brothers within themselves, knowing who they are outside of sports, as well as getting them to achieve their goals and pushing them to where they want to go athletically as well. So that's just my overall philosophy of how I look at coaching. And then within the ACC conference, and just my players that are here, I definitely know that they think that I'm very open with them. I'm very real. I tell them like it is, but because I want them to do well. It may not be something that they want to hear, but I'm going to say it because I know that they need
right,
it. You know what I mean, to get better. Like that's how the growth process starts, is by telling those uncomfortable truths that you don't want to hear because you need it. So I'm very transparent with my guys. I try to find out different ways that they learn. Are they like hands-on learners? Are they auditory, or do they need a one-on-one session with me? I try to play like little psychological games, like when we do eye training stuff, and I'm the three technique, and I got a key to guard, and I'm looking at the guard right now, but I got bad eyes. So, and I'm trying to tell them, okay, on a reach block, if you see the reach block and you strike with your hands and you cut the ball off, or so I'll switch it up sometimes. And when we're doing power work, and I'll say, all right, send the O line this way, and they'll go this way, and then send them this way. So then they start getting in their head. They think they starting to guess. So I want to make sure that they true to their eyes. And I'll say same thing while they're
right.
not looking, and then tell the O line to go this way. And then if they mess up, I know they're guessing. But if they do it right, then I know they stand true to
Yeah.
their eyes. So my players definitely know I'm very innovative in the way that I coach. I like to bring quotes to the table, highlight tape reels with a message behind it, like TD Jakes or something like that. Just anything that I can get them to see the vision. Like I want them to see the vision. I want to paint the picture
Right.
and illustrate the picture as much as I can in their heads to where that they buy into the process and they're able to get to where they want to go. So that's the type of coach I am. Not a big rah like all that type of guy, because that's not in my personality, But you can like I said, I know myself well enough that I know how to get the job done by still being true to me. So I'll just tell them like it is, and pull them to the side. I never want to embarrass anybody in public, anything like that. I put them to the side and get on them if I need to get on them for certain things of that nature. But other than that, they know I'm as real as they can get. I'm as real as they can get.
That's great. I think you should come coach me. Like I could do like a little basketball game and
Yeah.
we can get it together because I love that. I'm all for everything you literally just said. I think that's great that you challenge them. You get to know them, get to know how they learn, how they respond to certain things. That's like that's what I think I
Mm-hmm.
would be like if I were to coach. And I thought about it, but I think in life, coaching, mentoring, teaching is all
Mm-hmm.
about getting to learn people,
Mm-hmm.
making them comfortable with you, and kind of just like you said, building that relationship where they feel like, oh, I know how Coach Cam is. Like I
Mm-hmm.
know because you're real and you're authentic. My dad's always saying to me, just keep it 100. Like
Mm-hmm.
whatever you do in life, keep it 100. If you can't be around people who are gonna keep it a being with you,
Yep. Yep.
you have some things to figure out. And you want people in your corner, especially in sports, who you feel as though they can keep it a being with you, but also in a respectful manner where it doesn't come off as like, bullying or you're trying to like be a butthole to them, but they have confidence, respect, and they
Yeah.
notice what you're doing and it speaks
Yeah.
volume and it has an impact on their lives because in this day and age we need that, especially around males. Like I think men need to be loved on and like feel appreciated, whether or not that's in sports or it's in a
Mm-hmm.
job or just in life in general. And having people like you
Mm-hmm.
is
Most
just
definitely.
important. um yeah. So I kind of want to touch a little bit on like what your next steps are. Like we know you're coaching now, you're paying it forward. Where do you see
5 years,
yourself
I
in
see
5 years from
myself as
now?
one of the best youngest defensive line coaches in college football. I'm also going to take the money that I'm getting right now and continue to pour back into my training company over time because eventually I want to be able to open up facilities across the United States. And I also want to be able to uh, connect sports with psychology in one house, all in one house. So that way I have athletes there, I have regular everyday citizens there, and there's a balance because in life there's got to be a balance. So that way they're able to see, okay, this is how athletes' day to day life is, and the athletes are able to say, okay, this is how a regular person's day to day life, and that way it keeps everybody humble. You know, the athletes can go get psychology, counseling, or therapy, whatever, what have you, and the regular people as they're going to get their therapy, they can use the facilities as well. So my 5 year plan is pressing towards that. Uh, what I just said. Yeah.
That's great. That's a great 5 year plan. I know athletes and people all
Mm-hmm.
around the world would appreciate that and definitely pour
Mm-hmm.
into it. Shit, I would pour into that because it's real. Like I think that's super important because I think when people think about student athletes, and it's coming, I feel like since we had issues like even in the NBA with players like Kevin Love, Simone Biles, um, who's my other person I'm thinking about, Naomi Osaka, talking about mental health and taking that time away from
Mm-hmm.
being so in the limelight, focused on being perfect for each match, game, or set. It's like it's super important to think about mental health and how athletes respond to things and how
Yeah.
their lives are outside of sports because everyone's lives are not going to be cookie cutter or like a big house that ever came from culture, but it's not as simple as that. And I think people need to really pay attention to the athletes, their backgrounds, and how they, like you said earlier, how they respond to certain things. Because you will learn a lot about a person
Mm-hmm.
by just really their response, reading how they
Yeah,
learn things, and just spending time with them. So I think that's very important to, like you said, bring the two worlds together
they do.
because they do play hand in hand. Whether or not people on the outside want to believe it or not, sports is not literally just about the
Mm-hmm.
physical. It's mental too. Like I think sports is
Yeah.
more mental than it is physical because you can learn how to move a certain way and tackle this way and learn that between cross, but you have to really have the mindset and the toughness in your mind to really think like, oh, the confidence to
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, can I make that move? Can I cross this way? And if you get hurt, it's thinking about, oh, is my leg strong enough to jump and do this? If you're playing baseball and you hurt,
Tommy John
what's
surgery with the
is it
elbow. Yeah.
Tommy John? Tommy, yeah, like will my arm be strong enough to throw this pitch? Like it's so much. There's so many thoughts that go into an athlete's mind that I think, it has to be discussed more as the game and the sports grow. So that's a great idea. I would definitely support, and I'm all for that. Um, we have some people in the comments talking, and I love to see this engagement. I want to
Good
say
brother
thank
Adam.
you to my viewers who have been on this with us.
I was saying my good
What was
brother
that, Cam?
Adam in the comments.
Yeah. People are intrigued, and I love it. Thank you guys for joining, talking and hearing me and Cam rap this afternoon, this Saturday. We're wrapping up a little bit now, but I want to
Mm-hmm.
talk to you, Cam, about some fun stuff as we wrap up. So I always ask athletes because I know my answer. But what sport would you have played if not football or
Mm-hmm.
basketball? Because you said basketball was your first love. So aside from those two, what could you have seen yourself
That's a
doing
good
in the
question.
sports world?
Will say I've been to a couple baseball games, so I do think I wanted to try baseball out as well as wrestling. Just because wrestling is so much kind of close to football, honestly. But definitely baseball would be, intriguing to me. And lacrosse, but I don't want to do that much running, honestly. So as I say, baseball and wrestling. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, what are your favorite teams for football, NFL and college? And you can't say UNC for
You gonna
college. That
you
is
gonna
just
you gonna
don't do
make them
that.
get mad at me, but the
All
NFL.
right, sorry guys.
For
Y'all
the
can blame me.
NFL,
I'll take the heat.
I'm a Green Bay Packer fan, and a lot of people don't know this about Green Bay. They ask, why you Green Bay Packer fan? You from DC? Why you Green Bay Packer fan? Why not the Redskins? Green Bay Packers, Vince Lombardi, he was the first coach in the NFL to integrate African Americans into the National Football League. So that's why I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. I actually learned that from my grandfather. Washington was actually the last team to integrate African Americans into the National Football League. So a lot of people don't know that, but then when they hear me say it, they're like, "Wow, okay." And college, I'm not gonna lie, I've always been a fan of the Ohio State University since I was a little kid. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. Come through with the NFL
yeah.
facts and grandpa with the shout out. I love that. That's interesting to know. I didn't know that, but now I know, so I'm thinking about some stuff right now. My next question,
Mm-hmm.
we know about your career goals. What else in like what would be or what is or still is maybe one of your dream career goals? Like did you want to be a chef in one lifetime or an
I
actor?
say
Like
I
tell me about that.
definitely want to be a chef. I can cook now, but on my YouTube, oh, I can throw
Can you
down.
really
Come
cook
on
though,
now.
Cam?
Come on now. Don't let me
Oh,
get started. Don't let
okay,
me
all
get
right,
started. But
okay.
yeah.
I can
Okay.
cook too, so we can have a cook off. I'm gonna do a show on here, bring
Okay.
everybody
Yeah, I
in. We'll
actually
do a
did
cook off on
in
live.
the pandemic when I started my YouTube channel, I did a couple cooking shows on there too. But yeah, I'd say a chef
Okay.
as well as a counselor, like a psychologist, because I have a very extreme fascination for just how the mind works and human nature and just all of that. Honestly, I'm actually kind of like self-studying right now psychology with some books and things of that nature, and I just try to help like I said, I just try to help as many people as I can out just with the knowledge and information that I've obtained over time. So I definitely say a chef and a counselor for sure.
Cool. So we have some
DJ,
comments
go
from
live.
Humble DJ. He's talking about Chef Bear. I'm a witness. So clearly
Yeah.
he's saying that you can really cook. So I ain't gonna talk no more to that. You got a witness here. I'm gonna let y'all rock out. That's cool. But you should know, DJ, Asia McCray can cook as well. My two last questions for you. One would be looking back on how your life is panning out. I'm sure you're very proud of it, but I always wonder because I know we don't like to, or me personally, I never want to have regret, but I know it comes in life sometimes. Would you change anything as you look back on your life and think about from when you were a little kid thinking about, oh, I'm going to get into basketball, football, and thinking about where you are now in today's life?
I wouldn't
Would you
change anything for the world. And I actually, shout out to my boy Adam. We actually did this together during the pandemic. We took a pause. I keep on talking about just pausing in the midst of storms. And I think that's where I think that's where people will grow, honestly, because as just an eyewitness, as one person that has paused in the midst of storms. And during the pandemic, me and my bro, we actually just took time out to just take a pause from life and look within ourselves and figure out like who we actually are, like really find ourselves, who God called us to be, and then walk in that now. And I wouldn't take anything back for the world. God has been so good to me. I always say that I'm a winner in life because I've took so many losses and I've been able to grow and learn from those losses. I think a true winner takes losses so that way he can learn and he can grow and he can become or she can become the best version of themselves possible. So I wouldn't take anything back.
That's good. That's good. Since you brought up, I like that you added in the she because we are out here. Hello. I want to ask, did you watch the women's tournament this year?
All the way to the end. All the way to the
answer.
end. Yeah.
Okay.
I was rooting for both sides, honestly. Both sides. I like people on both sides. I'm sorry.
No.
I like people on both sides.
Okay, so how about this? Who was in your bracket to win the women's side?
South Carolina. Just because.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah,
they're gonna be, they're gonna be the UConn and keep on winning and winning and winning and all that. So I just thought South Carolina was gonna win.
All right, DJ, I see your comments in here. Women's tournament over the men's. Yes, I'm gonna always rep women's basketball, y'all. I want to go back up. I saw.
So pick and pluck is pretty much my version of monkey bread. And my grandma, she gave this to me, God rest her soul. So she pretty much is, you take a bundt pan, right? You mix up some butter, cinnamon, brown sugar, and vanilla, right? Get it all melted in. Then you take about two rolls of biscuits, like Grand's biscuits, and you cut them up into fours, and then you lay it all in the bundt pan, and then you pour the little mixture over the bundt pan, and you put it in the oven, and then you sit it out. Once you put it back, you can pick and pluck. Just keep picking and plucking. Till it's all gone. Yep.
I love that. Well, how about this? Next time we're both in the DMV, I need some pick and pluck. That sounds amazing. I love that. My last question for you, and I typically ask, I'm gonna give you a little insight. I typically ask people, what advice would they give to their younger selves? I don't want to do that. I want to ask you, because you made a point earlier about people needing to understand the realness behind student athletes and the psychological part of our lives. If you could give a quote, sentence or two to our viewers on here, and I want to give a shout out to all my viewers who were have been tuned in all afternoon, who have been coming in and out. Thank you so, so much. I appreciate all the support and all of the commentary. I love the engagement. Keep it coming, y'all. But I want to ask you, Cam, let's say if I put you on national TV and said, you have one time to tell people who are not student athletes, who were not student athletes in college, what would you want them to know about the life of a student athlete that they don't know or probably don't really recognize after, or, you know, watching games, tournaments, whatever?
It's a lot of unseen things that go on, depending on the program. Good, bad. You know, you go through so much as a student athlete. You know, whether in life you're losing loved ones and you still got to go play a game, to your own teammate passing away. God rest Jordan. So you go through so much stuff, but you learn to overcome, and it helps you a lot in life. It helps you a lot in life to overcome those things. So that's kind of what I'll say. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah. No, that's real. That's real. And I love that response. And I think I was in college when I heard the news of Jordan passing, like you said, God rest his soul. But that is real. I think it happens throughout our world, especially in sports. And I think people don't really understand, like, it's a lot to deal with things like, you know, people passing away, personal things, going through day-to-day life at school, trying to figure out, how am I going to eat? Like, we have so much going on. Like you mentioned earlier, taking time for schoolwork. Like, you think about the word student athlete and you would think student would come first, but if we keep it 100, it's really
sport.
athlete.
Yeah, it's really about the sport. Yeah.
Like, we be real, it's really us, our sport, and
like,
then
you learn
everything else comes after.
You learn how to be an extremist in time management when you play sports as a student athlete. Like, you
100%.
don't have the time, but you have to make the time. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Trust me, we do not have time for nothing.
You don't have the time.
Nothing.
You really don't. You don't have as much time as they say you do. And that's coming from a coach perspective too. So I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like you mentioned earlier, it just trickles down into the real world. You get this real world example in college, because you are forced to have time management, to be disciplined, to be on just be on your toes. Like, okay, what could possibly happen next? Where am I going now? Like, you have to be constantly thinking about, what am I doing? How's it gonna work? How will I get there? Like, you know, it's a constant cycle in the student athlete's brain about a lot of different things. So, and that's what, you know, if you're watching people, this is why I have this page. I'm trying to use this platform to push this narrative out to people. Like, we're really doing this, if you think about it. We're not just on the TV screens in tournaments. We're not just here for bets and all types of stuff like that. Like, we are here to get to a goal, but we're doing it in a certain way that's not always publicized and put out for people to see. So this is the point of Athlete's Diary, the point of my Open Diary series. And Cam, I'm done rapping with you. I think you hit it all on the head today. Like, you did a great job. Thank you so much for being here and talking with me today, because we did everything. Touched on food, mental health, injuries, career goals, and just all things that go into the life of student athletes.
I definitely thank you again for having me. I will leave with this. 1 Peter 2:9 says, "But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, who were called out of darkness into his marvelous light." And I just hope that everybody takes that scripture within, because that's the scripture that I live by, and it's done me good justice thus far. So I'll just leave with that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cam. Really appreciate you coming on. To everyone who's been out there watching, thank you so much. Cam, I'm loving the commentary we're getting in here today. You're friends have been on live, and I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, I'm your host, Asia McCray, and thank you guys for joining my series today.
All right.
Thank you so much, Ken. We'll be in touch. And like I said, I'm
I
back
got
home
you.
to get some
Thank
pick and
you.
pluck.
God bless.
Don't forget. All right, y'all. Tune in for the next show.